What I'm working on today is a vented enclosure for this Memphis VIV series 14-inch woofer. I've looked at the spec sheet that came with the woofer and determined the size of the enclosure. I've still got to cut the hole out in the front, and down here I'm actually working on the design for the front baffle. So that's what we're going to be working on. Pretty much everybody knows how to build a regular box. This is just a vented box. I went by the specs that came on the sheet just to make it easy. Most of the design process is going to be on the front baffle. Looking at the spec sheet for this woofer, it tells me that the cutout diameter for the woofer to actually fit down into is 13.19 inches. So we're going to do 13 and a quarter, and the outside frame diameter is 14 and a quarter. So we're going to go to 14 and a half. So on my router, what I've done, I have this circle guide, and I've come in and I've found my 14 and a half slot and put that there, and I have a pilot hole drilled here in the middle. So what that's going to do is that's going to cut to this line here, and then I can take another and cut to the outside line to give me this one. So make this cut, it's pretty simple. You have your pilot hole, you have your pin here, you just take that and line it up and insert that in, and now you're ready to make your cuts. I got a depth set over here, and this is a plunge router, and I can adjust this when I want it to go down further. I can just take and spin this and it'll drop it down. You can see that groove a little bit better on this since I've gone deeper. I've got the inner portion of my circle cut here. Now here's where I'm going to go to the outside. And when you do this, when you measure to see what your outer diameter is, on this guide, it actually would cut to the inside, so you actually have to add a half inch to that to get that to cut on the outside. So if you measure 13 and a half to here, you actually need to make it 14 and a half where it'll cut on the outside instead of the inside. When I come around, this is going to cut the outside circle, but I don't want to cut in too far here. So when I do this, I'm going to bring this in and I'm going to stop before I get to the point where it actually starts to make this curve here. And you can see here where I've actually stopped right before that curve comes in, and that I will make that curve as I've got these other little templates from Mobile Solutions. So I'll take and I'll secure that on there where I can make my other curve right here. So these are the templates I'm going to use for doing my corners here. I'm going to use these and tape these down, and then for the straight edges I'm going to tape these down. And I'm going to go ahead and do these first just because it'll be easier to do this straight line and to line up this once that's done. And now I'll take these over to the table itself and we'll cut that out. Here I got my straight edges in place. I got a 2-flute half-inch router bit with a dual bearing on top. Those bearings are going to ride on top of this, and I'm just going to make these straight cuts first. Now that I've got this cut, I've still got this step that I need to get rid of. I'm just going to use this flush trim bit and ride the bearings along that and just go ahead and cut the rest of that out. So I went ahead and rough cut this center section out with a jigsaw, and then I'm going to do the same thing with this flush trim bit. To make these trim rings on the outside perimeter and the one on the inside, I'm going to take a full piece of MDF that's already cut, and I'm going to use this bit from Mobile Solutions to do that. So I'm going to put this in and I'll show you how that works. I've loaded up my quad bearing 1/4-inch spiral bit, and I'm going to use that to trim this out. I had a couple different ideas and kind of incorporated a couple of them together. This is kind of what I've come up with. Cut this section out, and this section out over here. On my first piece that I did, I cut it out of the 3/4 inch, and I decided I didn't want that much depth. So what I did, I cut another piece out of a piece of 1/2 inch, and then I've got these other pieces that will fit inside of here. And right now these are fit to where they're a tight fit. But what's going to happen is I'm going to need to wrap this in vinyl. So I'm going to wrap these pieces in vinyl, and I'm going to wrap this in vinyl. Obviously vinyl has a thickness, so I'm going to use this kit from Mobile Solutions, and I'm going to take this first piece here. So I know that I'm going to have 2 pieces of vinyl. If I take one piece and slide it through here, this gives me my correct gap. So that one piece would be a 1/32 inch rabbet that I would need to cut into this piece. But since I'm using 2, I would go over to number 2 here and stick that in and make sure that that fits tight, and that's good, and that's 1/16 of an inch. This kit comes with this rabbeting bit. Now what this rabbet does is it actually cuts in a 32nd of an inch. You can see where that sticks out a little bit further than that bearing. So it actually cuts in a 32nd of an inch. So if I take this halfway up and run it around, it's going to cut a groove a 32nd of an inch in. And then if I take it and flip this piece over and run it again, this bearing is going to ride on that 32nd groove and add another 32nd step down in here, which will give me that 1/16 gap that I need. So I'm going to load this in and run these pieces, and then I'll show you how these fit in and the gap that that gives. So I've got the bit loaded up. I've got it about halfway into my material, and I'm going to take this and run it around at one time all the way around, and then I'm going to flip it over and run it around one more time, and that should give me my gap that I need for 2 pieces of vinyl. So there's the one, and you can see that step that it's created. And now I've taken that, instead of running it like this, I'm going to flip it over. Now you can see that's created another step. And then what I'll do is I'll take a flush trim bit and ride the bearing along this edge and trim the rest of that out. Now I've got my 1/2 inch bit loaded, and these bearings are going to ride on this top groove, and it's going to trim out this bottom section here. And you can see we've got a flush trim all the way around. I'm going to use this rabbeting bit from Mobile Solutions to actually make these a little insert panel. So I've already got this set up to about half the height of what this piece is. And I'm going to take this and run it all the way around, make a step. And all I'm doing with this piece right here is I can set it up aside, and as I'm grooving this out, it actually throws a lot of dust over here, and it'll take and just push it back over in the vacuum. Now I'm going to take these pieces and use my 1/4 inch bit and just drill down here on a flat edge. Once again, it's good to use a spoil board behind to keep it from splintering out on the back. Now what I'm going to do is change this bit out for my 1/4 inch spiral flush trim bit. Here we got the 1/4 inch bit loaded up. Got my 1/4 inch hole drilled there. I'm going to take this, put it down over there, and you got to make sure that you keep pressure to where that bearing rides here. So here we've got that trim piece, and there's a little nub right there. Now let's just take a little bit of sandpaper and sand that out. So these are the trim panels that are going inside. And what I'm taking here is going and putting a round over on the outside edge. I've already done it on this piece here, and I'm going to do it on the one that goes there. Now I've loaded in a 45-degree chamfer bit, and I've already done this the inside of here. You can see where I put that profile on that with the round over on the outside. So I'm going to run this piece through real quick. I've cut this piece to fit in over here, and I'm just going to do like I did on these and just do a round over on the outside edge. But before I do that, I've got to go in and shrink the size of this, because there's going to be vinyl on this and there's going to be vinyl on this. So I have to do like I did the other pieces, take this bit and cut in a rabbet. It's going to be done the same way as the others were, is I need to make 2 passes. So I've already got my height set. So I'm going to run this pass all the way around, flip it over, run another pass, and then do the flush trim on it. I'm going to take around these edges here and do an 1/8 inch round over. And I've already got that bit set, and it's lowered to the height that it needs to be. Now that I've got these roundovers done, I'm going to do a chamfer all the way around here. And I've already got my bit set for that. What I've got here is some black acrylic sheet, but what I've done, or what I want to do, is put the black acrylic on the inside of each of these pieces. So what I have to do is rabbet this out where the vinyl and the acrylic itself will fit in there. So I've loaded my rabbeting bit, and I've already figured out my depth that I need for that on this test piece. And I've got my bit loaded, and I'm just going to go around both of these pieces and do the inside. Now that I've got this rabbet on this back side, I can actually take my pencil on my piece of acrylic and stick that in there where it will ride along that outside edge there. And I can just do a rough cut of this to make it fit down into the groove. My plan is on this front piece, it's actually going to be connected to the front of the box, but this piece is going to be wrapped in vinyl, but the rest of the box is going to be wrapped in carpet. So what I need to do is make a groove for this vinyl and carpet. See, because the vinyl is going to wrap around this way, and then there's going to be carpet that comes around and comes around this way. So I need to make a groove in here for both of these to tuck down into. So that's what I got my rabbet bit here. I've already got the depth set, and I'm going to make a pass all the way around. You can see the step that's created. And that should be enough for the vinyl and the carpet to tuck down into.